Let's begin by having a little bit of fun. I mean, this stuff is so heavy, so very heavy. Sometimes we gotta, click it back and play with our grandkids, or maybe even see that there's a little bit of humor. On the back of the agenda page, all of them, I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is just a couple of them. Supposedly, these are the kinds of things that are the quality indicators of our healthcare world. Actual statements from charts. You can read, I kind of really like the diffused autopsy. The next one, I mean, you can read it yourself, but when you're, well, she has no rigors or shaking chills, but her husband states that she was very hot in bed last night. And then the discharge status, alive but without my permission. And there's more really great ones in there. Part of the reason for saying that really is for those of us to keep our own selves sane a little bit, to still have a sense of humor, and to remember how fortunate we are in so many kinds of ways. But you know what I also would like to say? I really would much rather be standing in front of you, and I think Scott would say the same thing. We'd much rather be standing in front of you celebrating a free market reform system going on in Washington, D.C. that was really going to make a difference. And I say that because, frankly, so often it's misleading in the media, it's misleading in liberal blogs who constantly say the conservatives don't have any alternatives. And that is, as Joe Soussere says, be as in be, and you can think the rest. Because there have been bills. I happen to be going through my material and preparing here, and I found a 2003 page with a list of 12 principles that are the kind of founding principles that you really need, that we can do a difference. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think it is important, and this should be a message to all of the people at a federal and state level as lawmakers. I think it's pretty fundamental to the medical career, the medical people in the medical profession to do no harm. We do have miracles every day going on, right in our own backyard. Miracles that don't happen. I mean, the license plates on cars here tell you that they come from other places. If you went to Canada, you aren't going to find very many Minnesota license plates in front of their clinics, because we have them here. Really. I happen to have had a chance to visit with a group of legislators from Canada who told me, this is almost a literal translation, don't mess up your health system in the United States because we depend on it as a backup to our system. I said about the patients, I think we've got reasonable wait times, as Dr. Wright said. And by the way, this is something that people sometimes miss. You think about the impact in our own community, in our own region, of the good paying jobs in the healthcare industry. It can be very positive. Okay, next slide. Doesn't mean that's perfect. That's another thing. They say, oh, you guys are in denial. No. Dr. Wright's not in denial. I'm not in denial. I think cost is. And Dr. Wright gave you all kinds of data. That cost inflation is killing us. And it ought to be something different. We shouldn't have to have the kind of sticker shock that you see. We also have uninsured. I've got a but there because I think, as Dr. Wright indicated, there is a but because it gets way overplayed. The reason it gets overplayed, real cost control reform is hard. Access is easy. Just throw more money at it. It's a piece of cake. You can run campaigns. It's easy to understand. Now, all the harm is a different thing. But the reality is, politically, it's very expedient. Medicare and Medicaid payments. Try to find a Medicaid dentist in Rochester in our area, and you will find how much harm there is in a payment system that doesn't even pay them enough to return their costs. And by the way, Medicare is the same kind of thing. I mean, even Mayo is refusing new Medicare patients in many places. And you're going to see more and more of that because Medicare doesn't pay well. And by the way, with the whole politics, if you happen to go to Florida, Medicare pays them really well in comparison to here. So we have all kinds of regional disparities. So there are areas where we need to do things, particularly to do something about costs. Okay, next. This is just one. You saw others, and I'm not going to belabor the point. But history is tracking, and by the way, this probably even hides. If only thing you track is how much your premiums go up, you're probably also missing the point. If you look underneath the premiums, you find out that your benefits are changing as well. So whatever you think in terms of cost inflation about premiums It's even greater than that because it has to recoup all the costs that Dr. Scott talked about. Next. On the uninsured, this is kind of a funny way to show it, but it's really important. I think Dr. Scott indicated that it's like a 15 million or so actual. If you're trying to solve a 47 or 50 million person problem, it's a heck of a lot different than solving a 15 million person problem. Let's go to the next slide, because I show what are the numbers. About 11 million of these people, by the way, are already eligible for existing public assistance programs, Medicaid programs. I don't know why they don't choose to come. I mean, I can't hypothesize. But you don't need any additional federal or state programs for those people. They're already eligible. We've already got 10 million who have high income, 3 times federal poverty level or greater. Again, why do they choose? And by the way, I think that doesn't mean they don't have a responsibility to still pay their bill. If they incur a bill, and that's their income level, they may be paying for the rest of their life, but they still have a responsibility. So we shouldn't immediately jump to the conclusion that just because somebody doesn't have insurance, that they never pay their bill, and we, the taxpayers, have to cover them. That's kind of a popular thing to say, that everybody who shows up at the emergency room is going to be paid for by the taxpayer. It may be true in some cases. I don't mean that's not. But in a lot of cases, it isn't true. And some people are carrying a long-term bill that they're paying off. And then 10 million not citizens, and I don't know what proportion might be illegal or not. But the fact is, these are kind of the figures. Next slide. Now, how in the world, as the Wall Street Journal said, the House bill is the worst bill ever, is what they characterized it as. And there's been so much emotion going on. The polls are showing, I just saw it tonight, that the curves are just going down. It's 50-some% now are definitely opposing it, about 44% still supporting it. I wonder how weak that is. So the trends are completely changing. America's saying no. I think Americans are saying no. So how in the world do you have the people in Congress still passing these bills? Well, these are just a few. I mean, when you get 300 million to cover Louisiana, was it 300 million or 300 billion? Yeah, 300 million as a supplement to Louisiana to pay for their bills. You get a House and a Senate bill out of that. Boom, right down. You got $150 million to a California medical school. Boom, there comes a vote. You got $250 million, by the way. Sometimes when you hear, I'm going to come back to this later, about the fiscal responsibility of this bill. This is a wonderful bill that doesn't add to the debt over 10 years. Well, this is another B as in B kind of thing. One part of it is that $250 million, this is the way, in a sense, that the American Medical Association was bought off. What you do is you put a different bill, separate bill, and it's got $250 million, $1 billion cost to it. That one is $1 billion. That should have been $1 billion. Yeah, that one should have been $1 billion. You put that in a separate bill. What that does is, if you're not familiar, there's a formula that each year is supposed to balance the Medicare budget. What it does is it would automatically reduce payment rates to doctors. It has been repeatedly deferred. If it was implemented now, the decrease in their rates, their payment rates, would be about 21.5%. This separate bill repeals that. Isn't that a good deal? And oh, by the way, you don't think that we taxpayers have to pay that? Whether it's right or not, I'm not, that's a different point. The fact is, it's not shown. There's the gutting of the Medicare Advantage. For those of us, and I happen to be one of those that goes through the annual process of trying to figure out what I want to do about Medicare, we have a plethora of options. And among those options that were added several years ago are what's called Medicare Advantage. The bills gut them, basically. I mean, really hurt them badly. Now, the deep, dark secret of that is AARP, remember them? They came out fully supporting this bill.